Hi lovely people, I'm Debs. Welcome back to my channel, Rena Reads Stuff. It's Sunday. I'm going to do my usual weekly reading wrap up. There's only a few books today because I did my wrap up of reading for Occult Detective October yesterday, and in a minute I'm going to do another video to go up on Monday, tomorrow, on my Victober reading. So these are the things that I've read in addition to those two events. Let's start with this. Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake. Now this I have been reading with a group of people, some of whom haven't started it yet, but it's this month's selection for the I'm with the Band book club on Fable that was started by our lovely friend MJ. And this is one of the books that has been banned by the state of Utah in all of their school libraries. It has to be removed from their libraries and it has to be destroyed. The editions of the book can't be given to other people or sold or anything. They have to be destroyed. Now, I'm not sure what I expected from this book, but it certainly wasn't this. This cover gave me no real indication that this was going to be a dystopian fiction taking place. The present in this book takes place after the apparent end of the human race as we know it, certainly society as we know it. I don't know, it looked a bit folky to me from that, but there are actually green rabbits in this book. Now, I do not agree, let's get this straight at the outset, with the banning of books. I certainly do not agree with the destruction of books. That is all too horrific. It's all too reminiscent of really bad regimes like the Nazis. Anyway, that said, this book wasn't written for kids. I genuinely believe that this book was written for adults, and I think if it was marked parental guidance, like films are marked parental guidance, I would probably wholesalely agree with that. It isn't. I'm not sure at what age I would have read this book. Probably mid-teens at the earliest, I would have thought. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much about the plot because there are people who haven't started it in our book group, and there are people who certainly haven't finished it. I really enjoyed this book. It's very dark. There is some humour in it, but it's very dark humour. It is, like I say, about the end of society as we know it, and jump in time with one character who in his past as a child was known as Jimmy, and in the book's present it is now known as the Snowman. And he tells the story of how this society came to its end. Now, it was already falling apart at the seams. When the book opens, there are very different stratas in society. Some people living in the compounds, and the role that they have is often to create cures for diseases, hybrid animals that are resistant to disease or can be used for some specific purpose, like growing human organs inside, or just for the efficiency of growing food for the human population. But it gets worse. It gets darker and darker and darker. And Oryx and Crake are two characters that the Snowman is very close to throughout the course of this book. I didn't realise when I first started to read it that it is the first in a trilogy, the Mad Adam trilogy. Margaret Atwood's writing, as usual, is brilliant, and I now want to know what happens in the next two books in the trilogy, so I am going to have to read them. And they are called one is called The Year of the Flood. That's the second book in the trilogy. And the third is called Mad Adam. I now have both of them in e-form, and I'm going to look forward to reading them, although possibly not this month, depending on how my reading goes. The second book that I completed was an Audible book, and I have been going through. I got on Audible because I'm basically a cheapskate and I like to get as much as I can for my money. I got the Inspector Alan Grant series by Josephine, which featured 5 books by Inspector Alan Tay, and featuring her detective Inspector Alan Grant. One I had read before, a couple of times actually, and that was The Daughter of Time, which sees Inspector Alan Grant attempting to find out as much as he can about the deaths of the princes in the Tower, believed to have been killed by Richard III, and coming to the conclusion that it wasn't proved and that other people may well have killed the 2 princes in the Tower. Now, this is obviously a famous historical mystery. I hadn't read any of the others, so when I was going down south on a regular basis to look after my grandson, I had a 3-hour journey there, 3-hour journey back, and I was enjoying working my way through these Inspector Grant books. I had actually, I'd completed 4 of them, so there was only the last one to go, and that was called The Singing Sands. And it was another confusing Alan Grant mystery. So Inspector Grant is on leave. He's decided to go and spend time with his sister in Scotland to go fishing, which is one of his passions. And he takes the night sleeper from London to Scotland. When he gets off the night sleeper the following morning, he sees one of the guards trying to wake someone in a cabin, and this person is quite obviously dead. So the authorities are called. This young man is carried off this sleeper train, and Grant keeps an eye on what's going on with this case. They determine that the man who had papers for a French mechanic was roaring drunk, and at some point during the night had slipped, hit his head on the basin in the cabin, and died. The family, who haven't seen him for many years, in France, come over and they identify his body, and he is duly buried. But Grant can't really get this out of his head, because as he left the cabin after trying to aid the guard, he'd picked up a newspaper that had belonged to the occupant of this carriage by accident, and on there was scribbled a poem. And so he decides he's going to try and find out more about this young man and what he was doing on this sleeper train. So he places an advert in a paper, and one day while he's fishing, an American guy turns up. And although he's not really sure that the guy who has been found dead is his friend, he believes he could be. And his friend is a fellow pilot. They shared a flat together, and his friend was meant to meet him in Paris on a certain day and didn't show. And the young man shows Grant a photograph of them, and Grant absolutely believes it is the man who was on the train who has been buried under somebody else's name. And so the two of them attempt to find out what is going on. And that leads them on a wild goose chase. The book is really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really like Josephine Tey's writing. Now, one of the things I found interesting about this series of 5 books is that I think in only one of them, Inspector Grant actually solves the case himself. In one of the books, he's almost incidental. One of the books is the historical mystery. You can't really prove that Richard III did or didn't kill the princess in the tower. And in a couple of books, the case is solved, but not necessarily by Inspector Grant. And that, as a series of police procedurals, struck me as interesting. So I loved these. I'm going to keep hold of them. Josephine Tey is a great author, and there's every possibility I will read at least some of these again. Now today I finished another book. In fact, I started and finished a book. I took part this morning in my very first reading sprint. I've been seeing people I follow on BookTube, I've been seeing them advertising reading sprints. I had absolutely no clue what they were. But this morning I got up quite early and I was watching Olly from Olly's roundup of his week. And he said that he was going to be doing a reading sprint at 8 o'clock this morning. So I dropped in to see what was going on. I had something I wanted to finish off. And when I finished that off, I started this. It doesn't take very long. These Georges Simenon books are fabulous. I really, really enjoy them. There's hundreds of them. Actually, there's not. There's about maybe 70 or 80 of them in total. Maigret and the Flemish Shop, this one is. And this Maigret is asked by a relative to go and see a Belgian woman. And the Belgian woman's family, her name is Anna, the Belgian woman's family has a shop that is actually right on the border of Belgium and France. And it is literally built on the border. The back of the shop is in Belgium and the front of the shop is in France. There's a mother and father. There are 2 sisters and a brother. The brother is away at law school. One of the sisters is a teacher. The other one, Anna, helps out in the shop. A local family claim that the brother is the father of a young lady's son. And one night, the young lady goes to the shop to get her regular maintenance money that she has been receiving. She leaves the shop, disappears off the face of the earth, is never seen again. The family is accused of killing her, or rather the son of the family is accused of killing her, even though no body's been discovered. And the family then call Maigret in to try and clear their name. Now, they haven't been arrested because there's no evidence, there's no body, she has just disappeared off the face of the earth. This is... I suppose Maigret is a bit formulaic, but I love the atmosphere that Simenon creates. And I like his characters as well. He has a very sort of stand back and think about things modus operandi. They're a very easy read. Very easy read. Like I say, I finished this today, having started it today. I have several more that I need to read. I've got still a huge number of books to read before this year's Read What You Own challenge starts. I believe it starts on, is it November the 5th? I've got about 3 weeks. Now, last week I received another bundle of physical books, so of course they had to be added to the list. So my current total is, so far since February, I have brought into this house 190 new physical books. So I say new to me. Most of them have been secondhand, but new to me. Now, these are either books that I have nicked from a mother, purchased in charity shops or sometimes new shops, or books that have been sent to me. Every physical book that has come through the door since the end of the last Read What You Own challenge has been written down in my book. And then I've marked off the ones that I've read, with a view that the difference in total between the number of physical books I have brought into the house and the number of those physical books I have read is the number of books I have to read for the Read What You Own challenge. Thought it would control me, but it didn't. So Dave Brzezinski from the Occult Detective magazine sent me 6. So those had to be added to my total. I have 190 physical books have come into the house. And now I have read 79 of them. So currently I have 111 books that will have to be read for the Read What You Own challenge. Now, I don't have to read these books, I just have to read books that I own. But the current total is 111. I have probably 6 or 7 more of these. I'm wondering how many I can fit in before the end of 3 weeks. I have 4 more books to read that Dave has sent me. I read 2 of them last week, and I've got a couple of others that I have purchased myself that would fit in with some of the challenges I'm doing this month. Anyway, that is my non-Occult Detective October and non-Victober reading wrap-up. Thank you for popping by. I'd love to know what you're reading. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe. That would be lovely. Leave a chat below. And I shall now head off and do my wrap-up for the Victober challenge. So I'll post that on Monday. If you're interested, take a look. And I will speak to you again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye for now.